Hey everybody, today I'm going to review the brand new Westling Machine Company's universal socket trays. Now previously I reviewed their standard and metric socket trays, and the number one complaint that anyone has with them is the fact that they do not have even pin spacing. And the way that Westling designed the original trays was to allow for progressive spacing depending on whatever size socket you were using. So let's say on one side of the tray would be a 10mm socket, and then on the other side would be a 19mm socket. The spacing would get wider as the size increased. But a lot of people aren't just using these for standard or metric size sockets, they're using them for TORX, swivel sockets, or even hex bits. And if you use those, then all the sockets' bases are going to be exactly the same width. So Westling listened to the customers and they decided to come out with new universal trays that have even pin spacing. So what I'm going to do in this review is basically show you that these have the same exact socket retention of the standard and metric trays, but they have a new look and a new design. So whatever you're looking for, whether that is normal sockets or you're using screwdriver bits, TORX bits, hex bits, or swivel sockets, you're going to want to get these universal socket trays. So stay tuned and let me show you how well the Westling socket trays actually work. Okay, I think this will give you a lot better idea of what I'm talking about when I say even pin spacing. On the new universal trays, which are these three black ones, all of the pins have the exact same width in between them. So we can move the sockets around and everything is going to line up perfectly. Simply because on a socket such as a hex socket, a TORX socket, or a screwdriver bit socket, whether it's a 1/2 inch, 3/8, or a 1/4 inch, the individual sizing does not matter. The base of the socket itself is going to be exactly the same. So these two 1/2 inch sockets, even though they may not be anything similar in size on the top, on the base it's going to be exactly the same width. So we can place those on any peg and everything's going to line up perfectly. But if we look at the metric tray, for example, the 19mm socket and the 10mm socket are nowhere near the same size. So even on the open end or the end that actually attaches to the impact or the ratchet would not be anywhere near the same size. So if we look at taking the 19mm socket and we place it on the wrong peg, which would, let's say, the 10mm peg, it just is not going to go. It's not going to actually physically be able to sit down there because the width of the opening is designed for the 10mm socket and not the larger 19mm socket. But where we have these even pin spacings on the black trays, we can place the 19mm socket directly next to a 10mm socket and everything's going to line up perfectly because all of those pins are evenly spaced. Okay, now I'm going to demonstrate the socket retention on the Westling trays. I put them in a tool cart and I'm going to push it across the garage floor and I'm going to run over an extension cord that I laid down. This is going to cause the cart itself to shake, and it will show you that the pins themselves will hold onto the sockets and they're not going to pop off of there. And you can see with the cart shaking, none of the sockets are popping off. I'm going to zoom in closer now so you can see exactly what's going on. Okay, all of the trays are going to be Westling socket trays. The black ones are these new universal ones, but the pegs themselves are completely identical. So what we're going to do is run this cord over again. You're going to see how much it's going to shake, and none of the actual sockets are going to pop off of those pegs. And you can see, although they are shaking violently, not one socket popped off the Westling trays. The last thing that I want to point out is the fact that they have three different offerings with the new universal trays. The first is going to be the 1/2 inch drive tray, then the 3/8 inch drive tray, and finally a combo tray that has 3/8 inch pegs as well as 1/4 inch pegs. So where you would use this is if you have, let's say, a TORX bit set, where the very small TORX bits will have a 1/4 inch base, and then the larger TORX bits are going to have a 3/8 inch base. That way you'll be able to keep everything together on one tray. So now you've seen the brand new Westling universal socket trays for yourself. These are 100% made and assembled in the USA, and they're made out of billet CNC aluminum that has a black anodized finish. The pegs are non-magnetic and they're not going to pick up any shop debris, meaning dust, dirt, or magnetic particles floating around your garage. It's going to keep your toolbox very clean, and the socket retention on these is absolutely excellent. If you like this video, please click like. If you like my channel, please click subscribe. And thanks for watching.